from a place in Halifax called Orrington. And at the time I was only quite young, I can't remember specifically what age. But my dad coached up at the local team, obviously Orrington. And I kind of got into it that way. So I'd done maybe 5-6 seasons there. Obviously it would be my hometown club. Around 2018-19, I went down to Siddal. Obviously a big move for myself, coming away from, my friends. Went down there for about 2-3 years. Ended up getting picked up by Leeds. We'd come out of COVID, and at the time, personally, I was probably in the worst state I've been in in my life. I'd massively fallen out of love for the game. I ended up quitting at the end of 2020. In 2021, I'd worked hard, I'd put on a lot of weight, but I'd lost it. Got myself nice and fit, and I was just enjoying it again. I think that's a really important thing for anyone who is, in them positions currently or going to be coming into them positions is, you have to enjoy it yourself. There's no point doing it if you don't enjoy it. The last 2 years actually, or year and a half of my amateur career, was up at West Bowling, where a few of the lads I was on scholarship with actually played.
An amazingly talented player, at community level, very professional. He's a player that we wanted to talk to him pretty quickly, to be fair.
Quite a few clubs contacted me and I spoke to them. As you do, you go through the usual process. And we're actually planning on coming here because I didn't hear out from the club. And then it was one Sunday, I think in September 21, my dad got a call off John Bastian and Simon Bell and just kind of expressed their interest in me and asked if I wanted a bit of a tour of the training facilities. And then from that point on, mate, it was a pretty easy decision. I loved everything about the place, and loved what could have happened in the future that we spoke about and stuff.
Probably a player that we kind of looked down the line as was really going to develop. He had some real good traits. He was tough. He was aggressive without showing everybody that was aggressive, i.e., being ill-disciplined. You could see that he'd loved his rugby league. You could see he was passionate about it. You could see that he cared about it. And when he came in, certainly over the first 6-7 months, he was kind of under the radar in regards to, you'd tell him to do something once, he'd go do it, and he'd do it to the best of his ability. But slowly but surely, once he got into our environment and he got a feel of kind of what was needed to kind of take that step to the next level, he really studied and really focused hard on his disciplines, the process, so to speak.
Obviously, the scholarship is, you kind of felt, like you say, your first taste of that professional environment and, representing the club. It was a good year. I played more games than I expected, to be honest. Obviously, with the scholarship system being over 2 years, I was in the younger end. So I think I ended up playing the first 5 games, and then I got injured and missed the last couple. The coaching staff are very helpful and spend a lot of time on you, especially Butts and his team. They've done quite a lot for a lot of lads that are here today, older lads and younger lads. So yeah, no, it's a credit to them and credit to the system that we have here.
He was really quiet and unassuming, but he had a steely fire in his eyes. He kind of knew where he was heading. He knew what he needed to do, and the scholarship was the first part of that. And like I say, it was fantastic for us. He always cared about what he did. He cared about his team. He cared about the Rhinos, and supported the coaching staff and the programme immensely during his 2 years. I can't speak highly enough of him, really, to be fair. That last 12 months, he was so disciplined, both on and off the field. He led from the front through his actions. All the players responded to him because he was a real leader in the sense of probably not a lot of verbal leadership, other than come on lads, we need to be good today. But a lot of his actions, topping the tackle count, topping the meet, the carries and the run meters, etc. He was a really big player for us, and
the club did a lot for me and my family. So yeah, I felt like I had to definitely put pen to paper and and sign that academy deal, as I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
He certainly stepped up, you know, to that under-18s team. But he was very much a leader, you know, even, you know, when he jumped into the under-17s, you know, with a fair few older guys, you know, over the top of him. But you could see, you know, that he actually wanted, you know, to be one of those players that just didn't want to go out and play, but he wanted to play his part, you know, in the bigger picture, which ultimately is the whole group.
The results kind of didn't go our way. We probably underachieved for what we'd set out at the start of the season and for a Leeds Rhinos academy team. More on a personal note, I reckon for me it was probably one of my most important years of my life. Training with the academy, you know, it intensifies, it becomes more serious. But not only that, you know, my opportunities that I got with the first team that year as well, on the scholarship in the last year of the scholarship, sorry. I think we'd kind of gone unbeaten, or we'd lost out in one game, so we didn't really have a taste of losing and going through tough times and a bit of hardship. But I think, you know, everyone needs to go through that to grow and to get better and to come out in a better place. And I think, yeah, it did us lads that were there in you know, a lot of good to taste that and look at it and humble ourselves and think that, you know, we've got so much more work in us and that we need to do. And, you know, I think it's paid off this year that we had that year. We can identify, well, we did identify what we needed to do to be a better team, and I think we are reaping the rewards for that this year.
Yeah, he gradually built momentum last year, and you could see that he was gradually getting better. You know, running the ball, you know, his pre-line passing game, his offload game, his post-line passing game. Defensively, you know, he always put a lot of effort in, little bits to work on, and he were always going to make that England team last year against France.
With me being 18, you know, there's a lot of older lads ahead of me. They've obviously been in this position a bit longer than me, so you know, I always was humble that you know, when my opportunity would come, I would take it, and I was going to be patient for my opportunity. I think it come a little bit quicker than I expected, myself personally and my family. But no, yeah, leading up to it, I'd obviously picked up some good form in the reserves and the academy, and felt like I was doing really well, training well, and then actually progressed and went full time with the first grade, so that obviously helped. And then I was having quite a few chats with Brad, you know, about my progression and what the future and what the end of this season looks like for me. And he obviously mentioned that he wants to debut me and give me a shot. I think it was the Lee Leopards at home. He'd kind of said to me that he wanted me to be 18th man to get a feel about it. So I kind of knew that it would come soon. He'd told me that I were going to play in, and yeah, as you can imagine, just over the moon, to be honest. Like, can't put into words on the feeling that it actually brings to you when you find out that you are going to be debuting. And yeah, it was a special day, to be honest. The club couldn't have done any more. They were great, and yeah, to have my family there with me was just even more special. I think we started a little bit slow in that first half, but in the second half, we'd obviously spoke about at half time that we need to lift it, and I felt like coming off the bench, my job when I got out there was to bring some energy and just work hard, really. You know, not overcomplicate things, as Brad told me. Just get out there and, you know, play well. You know, do the simple things, and you know, rewards will come from it. But no, yeah, it was a surreal experience, to be fair. You know, being at Headingley, I don't think, you know, you could ask for much more, or a better stadium to be at. But yeah, the fans made it, you know, special, and you know, every kid would definitely dream of, you know, debuting in front of a big crowd, you know, whichever stadium that is. So yeah, it was special.
Proud moment for me, for Prez. I was proud for Prez's parents as well, because I know how much time and effort, you know, they put in to support him. In a couple of years, you know, let's think that Prez will be a first team fixture for us, and it's good that, you know, you played that small part in, you know, that first stage of his journey.
Presley's part of a wonderful wave of youth players coming through at Leeds, you know, that's so exciting, that the fans are going to get, you know, to see a wonderful talent, you know, that's been nurtured, you know, through the Leeds Rhinos Academy, and they'll be really excited about not just Presley Cassell, but all the other ones that are coming as well.
like I say, I can't express how grateful I am, to be in this position currently. And I think that's just a testimony to all the people, not just the coaches, but the people behind the scenes, the S&C, the physios, and my family, and like you say, community that have helped me. And looking back at it now, so many people have played their part in getting me here, and I'm absolutely grateful for every single one of them. So yeah, can't thank you enough.